Constitution, deferred conventions. We've had unwritten rules, we've been run by unwritten rules in this country for centuries. I think that's gone. I actually think we need a bottom-up review of how we govern this country. I think we actually need a rules-based system. We need written conventions now, because Boris has destroyed all that. I don't think the Conservatives offer that. I'm not a Labour fanboy, but I think we need fresh perspectives. And actually the fresh perspectives just happen to be on the other side of the house. And I'm thinking, I'm awful snowboy. So Stella Creasy was talking about people's parliaments a couple of years ago. Jess Phillips looks at domestic issues, and I'm not saying these people, suggesting these folks as leaders, but I'm suggesting that these people who bring fresh perspectives to politics, and I think that's the way forward. The two candidates at the moment offer no choice, in my mind.
Very interesting, Bob, very interesting. And that's an interesting, clever perspective on it, actually, that Boris is on the ballot paper because it's continuity now. The former Chancellor Sunak says there'll be no tax cuts until next autumn of next year at the earliest, so he's going to carry on as he were. Liz Truss says she would reverse the national insurance rise. Now that national insurance rise, if you recall, I opposed it at the time. I don't think it's the way when we are in the grip of the worst cost of living crisis for 50 or 60 years. I don't think you take more money out of people's pocket. I accept the national insurance threshold was raised, so people earning quite a few people were taken out of national insurance, but she says she will reverse the national insurance rise, but that money was going to be spent on the NHS. Well, how's she going to fix the NHS if she doesn't have that money? Not sure we've had that answer. What do you think about it? Let's carry on with the calls. Ben is calling from Bristol. Ben, are you content with the way this is being done?
I don't like the way, I don't understand why they couldn't do it like Labour do, where you just get the members to choose from more candidates. And you know these two, Andrew, these two people are there because they've got the most backhanders and the most mates, and it's a sad state of affairs. But I would say this, personally, and I've got a vote in this, all right, personally, I think they're actually two very good candidates. I think these are two very, very smart people, and we've become too cynical. Liz Truss, I don't care. This last caller, what was he going to? He used to go radio station talk about Labour. I'm Tory. Liz Truss, she's very smart. I mean, yes, she's a bit wooden.
Yeah, she is wooden. Big problem.
She's clever.
No, I doubt that. I don't doubt that.
I saw her answers on those debates. She was very clever, and she's actually got a very, very good record with the trade. You don't just pull those trade deals off unless you've got something about you. And the fact is, we don't need showbiz in number 10. We've had 3 years of showbiz, haven't we, with Boris?
Yeah, I mean, that would be part of the pitch, won't it? We don't need
any more of that.
We don't need charisma and harumphing and zumping and all the huffing and puffing of Boris. She'd be much more straightforward. But we are in a system, Ben, like it or not, which is far more presidential than it used to be. So much attention will focus on the candidate Keir Starmer, Ed Davey from the Lib Dems. If it is Liz Truss, what does she look like? What does she sound like? Has she got a big personality? Can she persuade people? Or will people look and think, oh, she's ghastly?
She got some very good results. Results what count. But Labour haven't even got any ideas, so they don't know what to do. If you can put a few good results in over the next couple of years, like a football manager, you get the results, you keep the job. My concern is this: I'm fed up talking about radio stations not a million miles away from where you're sat now, but people asking stupid questions. Did you see them on the TV? They said basically, it was like primary school, hands up who likes Boris, basically. That was what it was. These stupid questions. But I want to hear decent questions. Now, there is one question that I do want to hear on both ends. And I haven't heard them yet. I haven't heard any questions about lockdowns or what happened about that. Also, there is concern amongst a lot of the Tory voters, a lot of my friends, about their connections with the WEF. I've not heard that mentioned yet. And they seem to be shying away from talking about the border crisis and the things that actually matter to the voters, and basically asking them ridiculous questions like, would you have Boris in your cabinet?
Yeah.
Or anything like that. I want to see them account for their voting record as well.
He wouldn't go in the cabinet even if he was offered it. Why would he?
It's stupid. On a beach writing his memoirs, counting the dollars, wasn't he?
Good luck.
God bless him. You know,
I know, and good luck to him.
Little there on him, wasn't it? But listen, Andrew.
Yeah.
Liz Truss. This woman is smart, I'm telling you.
All right.
I've researched her. She's smart.
All right, that's Ben. Sounds like he's going towards Liz Truss. Read a couple of texts here. How could they not know how many members they've got? I'll tell you why they don't know. I don't know who sent in that text. They've got a centralised membership, but local parties, local constituency associations have their own memberships. They don't often have their own database. They don't always tell Tory HQ how many members they've got because they don't want to hand over any of their subscriptions.
In 300 yards, at Wagoners roundabout, take the second exit onto the Parkway, A312.
Keep the money they raise locally to spend campaigning locally. It's called independence, a form of devolution, if you like. That's why they've got this problem. We've never really known how many Tory members they've got, which is, I think, frankly, an unsatisfactory state of affairs. This says here, this is from Nick, Andrew Johnson's two leading cabinet ministers do not represent a change in the narrative for the Tories. Labour will be very happy. I wonder if that's the case. This also says, Cliff says, I don't agree with this method of choosing a PM. I'd say the same if there was a Labour government. Truss and Sunak are offering radically different things. It's not right that 200,000 people get to decide the way forward for the country. We'll carry on taking your calls on this, and also we're going to be getting an update on what the hell is happening at Dover, which has been declared a critical incident because some people were queuing there for 5 or 6 hours. Imagine the start of your holiday, 5 or 6 hours in a queue. Britain blames the French, not enough staff on that end. The French, of course, say it's our fault. They would, wouldn't they? And we'd blame them. Anyway, we'll get to the bottom of it if we can for you. You're listening to me, Andrew Pearce, here on Friday night on LBC. The time's coming up to 6:31. Headlines, Amelia Cox.
The Transport Secretary says he's working closely with his counterpart in France following 6-hour queues at the port of Dover. The UK has blamed French authorities for the delays, but they insist it has been caused by an unexpected technical issue. A rail strike will go ahead next Wednesday after talks failed to reach a breakthrough. 40,000 members of the RMT union on Network Rail and 14 train operators are walking out in a row over pay and jobs. And an agreement has been reached to allow grain exports to leave Ukraine. Moscow had trapped around 22 million tonnes of grain at ports since the invasion began, but has agreed to release some. LBC weather, showers gradually easing tonight, more rain moving into Northern Ireland by dawn, a low of 8 degrees.
This is LBC.
Say hello to Zoom One. Zoom One brings together Zoom meetings, chat, whiteboard, phone and more, all in one place to streamline your team's communications, so you can simplify the way you work. Whether you
Exit the roundabout onto the Parkway.
Get more of the
Continue on the Parkway for 1 mile.
meetings, chat, whiteboard and phone bundled together into Zoom One. Find out more at zoom.com/one. Zoom One features vary by plan.
When you remember this year's holiday, will you think of the waves gently lapping on the shore? The sun setting over rolling hills? Or will you remember being bored out of your mind with a flat tire, waiting for a recovery truck? 1 in 5 motorway breakdowns are caused by tire problems. Before you set off, check your tire pressure. National Highways.
Sending business packages, urgent documents or gifts across the UK or worldwide? Keep it local with the professionals at mailboxes, etc. We'll choose the best carrier for your parcel, its value and destination, and help with packing, tracking and paperwork too. To find your nearest store, visit mbe.co.uk and see how mailboxes, etc. can make courier and parcel delivery easier for you. People possible.
Need waste clearance round your way. Want to compare the price you pay? Want waste clearance you can trust? Fully licensed, that's a must. We're the place you need to go. We've the names you need to know. Local carriers, big and small. We're the place to compare them all. Why recycle? Why recycle? Why recycle? Why recycle? Why recycle? Why recycle?
To compare licensed, accredited waste carriers in your area, head to myrecycle.com now.
Andrew Pearce on LBC. Call 0345 6060 973.
Talking about, here we are, is it week 2, week 3? It feels like 2 years of this wretched Tory leadership contest. We're down to 2. Truss versus Sunak, another 6 weeks. Tory members are being balloted. I support the right of Tory members being balloted. They should be. I just don't know why it has to go on and on for so long, because we know for a fact the ballot papers will be sent out. They'll get them by August the 4th. I'm told...
In 300 yards, at Cranford Parkway interchange, take the second exit onto the M4 slip road to Heathrow Airport, M25.
Which is another reason why I do not think this needs to go on quite so long. But we are where we are. I wonder what you think about that. If also you've looked at the candidates who you think should win, and what of Lord Craddus's campaign to get Boris on the ballot paper. Jane is calling from Aylesbury. Hello, Jane.
Hello, Andrew. Good evening.
Good evening. What do you think?
100% Boris needs to be back on that paper. That's who we voted for. He's the current Prime Minister of the country.
Yeah.
Exit the roundabout onto the slip road.
And no matter what any Prime Minister...
In a quarter of a mile, merge onto M4.
At whatever time, whatever they do during that time, unless they committed murder or rape or something absolutely horrendous rather than, breaking their own laws by having a little bit of cake because it was his birthday that his wife brought in. He hasn't done anything horrific. The chap with the sexual assault thing, he's done that, not Boris. He should be judged by the voting public at the end of his term based on what he's done in that term, and that the system needs to be changed.
Imagine his premiership, when you consider some of the things he did and didn't do in that time, being brought down by some bloke drunkenly groping a couple of men at the Carlton Club, and I don't know why the men involved didn't just punch him or say do it again, I'll call the police.
Did they wind him up, or did they know he was drunk?
Why are people served so much alcohol they can't stand up properly on their own?
So was he broke? I mean, who knows? Only people that were there, but that's another issue.
Yeah. But you want him on the ballot paper, and you'd vote for him.
And there's been a petition, and it's been shown to Parliament, and they've rejected it, saying that they can't accept it.
I know. I've just gone through it, Liz. If you go through to the last 5 Prime Ministers, Jane, Tony Blair, forced out by a coup, 2007.
Yeah.
Brown's went of his own accord. David Cameron resigned because he didn't win the referendum result. Theresa May, forced out, coup. Boris Johnson, forced out, coup.
Yeah, and Theresa May told more lies to us, stood there with that poker face, telling more lies than Boris has ever told. Everybody knows how his demeanour. I actually think that he's on the spectrum, and he's a bit eccentric, he's high-functioning, something or other. His father's the same. Yeah. They're a bit eccentric, and a lot of people just don't get him. But his last Prime Minister's questions, I'm going to be upset everywhere. I won't even bother watching it anymore. He brought politics alive, and the whole country's now politicians, and they've all got points of view. Nobody ever used to know who the flipping Prime Minister was, let alone...
Yeah, can you imagine Prime Minister's question time? Keir Starmer versus Liz Truss. Frankly, the wooden dispatch box they lean on would be more interesting. Jane, great call. Thank you for that. We're going to carry on taking your calls. We've got a board full here, but I just want to get updated, because you may be worrying you could be perhaps driving to Dover to go on your start of your holidays over the weekend. And as you will have heard on LBC today, a critical incident has been declared over the queues. 4-5 hours some people were driving. I heard one couple on LBC talking, saying they'd been queuing for 4 hours and they'd moved exactly 1 mile. Must have been hell. 4 young children in the back of the car. Can you imagine it? Terrible. Let's go over to Dover and talk to LBC's reporter in Dover, Alex Stevanovic. Alex, it's getting a bit better now, is it?
In a quarter of a mile, keep right to stay on M4.
Better, Andrew. Traffic here on the main road into Dover now. Pretty much back to normal. It's in stark contrast to earlier, though, this afternoon when this A20 road was gridlocked. It looks as if we are over the worst of it today, though. But at first, the blame for all of this fell squarely on the French authorities.
Keep right to stay on M4.
Because first of all, I want to tell you how the impact for many families has been who have embarked on getaways at the start of summer holidays. There probably aren't many times that could have been worse for this to happen to them. Speaking to people here earlier, they told me they had been waiting for several hours, crawling along, stuck in their cars. We'll start with Fred, a taxi driver who had to stop working today.
The whole of Dover is gridlocked, completely gridlocked now, and you just can't get anywhere. So, I mean, I came out and done a job this morning, which normally takes me 5 minutes, and it took me an hour and 45 minutes.
We came from Bromley this morning, so not that far. Should have been an hour and a quarter drive, and we booked onto the 12:30 ferry, so we left a lot of time, but obviously it's been quite quite expect this.
Pretty frustrating, but we're keeping calm. So we've been on the road since 6 o'clock this morning.
Have you missed your ferry?
Yes. What was it? What time was our ferry? 11?
Yeah. So what are you going to do now?
Hopefully get on one. Hopefully get on one, the next one that they'll put us on.
Well, there was a huge knock-on effect to all of this. This morning, residents reportedly abandoned their vehicles to get to work. The bus company Stagecoach says it couldn't access the town, and children were stranded on school buses, and businesses suffered from lack of trade. And Moto, the UK's largest motorway service operator, says it was preparing to support motorists and families while this went on. That included extending their trading hours so people could take a break. But the port genuinely felt it had done all it could to prepare. The chief executive, Doug Bannister, says he feels immensely let down by French authorities.
I need to say that I am really very sorry. We should not be in this position. We have been planning for this day, this morning, for the last several months. We have installed in the port new infrastructure to be able to handle this. We've trained up more people.
Well, French border police blamed an unexpected technical incident in the Channel Tunnel, which meant French border police...
In a quarter of a mile, keep right to stay on M4.
Nothing to do with them. They say the incident at the port started overnight, well before a minor technical incident in the tunnel. There is absolutely no correlation between the two. What that incident was, they didn't say. But over the last few hours, French border resources have now increased and traffic is moving quite normally here.
Keep right to stay on M4.
Yeah, that Alex Stevanovic. So, crisis over. Let's hope it's back to normal tomorrow too. So, we'll keep you fully posted.
Continue on M4 for 4 miles.
Talking about the Conservative Party leadership contest, it's not just that, is it? They are now choosing a Prime Minister because Boris is on the way out. His last day will be September the 5th. He'll disappear to see, he'll probably speak outside number 10. He'll no doubt then go to see the Queen, which is the convention. He goes in, after he's gone, either Truss or Sunak will go in to see the Queen, kiss the hand of the monarch, and then they will be Prime Minister. And I'm just looking at it, look, 5 Prime Ministers, 3 of them since 2005 never made it to the end of their term. Blair forced out by a coup, Cameron self-indulgently, in my view, and selfishly cleared off because he didn't win the referendum, which he assumed he'd win by a mile. Theresa May forced out, so that's 3, and then Boris Johnson forced out. It's an extraordinary way to run a country, isn't it? Let's carry on with the calls. Jane's calling from Hatfield. Jane, what do you think about this?
Oh, hello, good evening. I agree with the other Jane that was just on before the Dolly troubles, that we should be on the ballot to vote, because the thing is, a lot of us people who are for Boris and Boris supporters will actually see what kind of, the public outside of all the things you've heard on the news, etc. Like, he's this, he's that, and he's a liar, he's corrupt. But us supporters haven't ever thought that. And we think he's a fantastic Prime Minister and he should be on the ballot paper. Obviously, if it's not Liz Truss, I will cancel my membership anyway. It's got to be Liz if it's not Boris.
Do you think she could win an election, Jen? Aren't you worried that she is pretty damn wooden?
Well, maybe, but I've met her. I've actually met her, and I find her very engaging.
Right.
And when you're awestruck by someone, that's what she did for me. I just went all goosebumps talking to her.
That's interesting. Yeah.
I was a little bit starstruck actually.
Yeah.
And but at the same time, I really don't want Boris to go.
In 2 miles, at junction 6, take the A355 exit to Slough Central.
Blair, who cleared off as soon as they could. They resigned as MPs, causing by-elections. My understanding is he's staying on as an MP, and I think he should, because look, he's had a lot of experience, whether you like him or not. He's been the Mayor of London for 8 years, Foreign Secretary and Prime Minister for 3 years. Why wouldn't you want him around if you were Liz Truss or Sunak to have a chat to? I don't think he'll give any help to Sunak, because of course Sunak was part of the coup that brought him down, but Truss, if she wins...
I don't like.
Yeah, well, you don't, because do you blame Sunak for it?
Yes, I do. Him and Sajid Javid, and then they all follow suit. Talk about the lemmings.
Yeah. All right, Jane, thank you for that. Jane is for Truss. She's a party member. What I do find extraordinary, honestly, why do they insult our intelligence? Sajid Javid, who used to be Sunak's boss, their mates, resigns. He's been in to see Boris in the afternoon. He resigns just after 6 o'clock. 8 minutes later, the then Chancellor of the Exchequer, Rishi Rishi Sunak resigned, and they say there's no collusion. I just don't believe it, and I don't know why they insult our intelligence. Of course they colluded. They planned it, they plotted it, and then a few hours later a third cabinet minister went, and I don't think he did collude with them. But because when we heard the health secretary was resigning, I thought, oh, that's bad for Boris, but it's not terminal. When the Chancellor of the Exchequer resigned 9 minutes later, I thought, that's terminal for Boris. Losing a health secretary is careless. Losing a Chancellor is catastrophic. Let's carry on with the calls. Anne's in Montpellier in France. Anne, what a lovely part of France you're in.
Yes, it is lovely. It's very, very hot.
I bet it's hot too. What do you think over there from France?
In a quarter of a mile, at junction 6, take the A355 exit to Slough Central.
Well, is it because you're not? Because I guess it's not wall to wall on the media there in France where it is here.
No.
So you're sort of one step removed in a way.
Well, not me personally, because I listen.
Exit at junction 6.
I'm very involved in it. I'm very interested in British politics.
Sure.
But yes, it's obviously.
In a quarter of a mile, at the roundabout, take the third exit onto Tons Lane A355.
And what's your observation? What do you think about this?
I mean, I was just looking because I am abroad, and the Conservatives Abroad website is quite startling because it says that anybody who lives abroad, British citizen or not, voter in England or not, can join Conservatives Abroad and vote in the election of the party leader. So that means I could be somebody in, say, Petersburg, for example, and I could join Conservatives Abroad and I could have a say as to who's going to be Britain's next Prime Minister. Now, that's a little bit odd, isn't it?
I don't think it's right. It can't be right, can it, Anne?
It is. I'm looking at it right now in front of me.
And what's the website called? We'll have a look at it. It's just called www.conservatives abroad.
I don't think W said membership of Conservatives Abroad is administered by the cities of London and Westminster.
Exit the roundabout onto Tons Lane.
Right.
That's what you have to join.
Right.
So by joining CLWCA as an overseas member, you become a member of the Conservative Party and of Conservatives Abroad, and you're entitled to vote in the election of a party leader. It's open to all who live abroad and pledge support for the UK Conservative Party. You do not have to be a voter or a UK citizen. Now, I just think
in a quarter of a mile, slight left towards Sippenham Lane.
a long time.
Yeah, but I mean, so if you're living in Bangkok and you read this and you join the local Conservative Association in cities of London and Westminster, and then you're part of Conservatives Abroad, you can then have a vote.
Yes, but forget Bangkok. I'm more worried about places like Beijing or Moscow or the very strange USA states who seem to be having an inordinate influence on our politics at the moment.
Yeah, you think about the states which are about to ban women having an abortion. People in those states could do it.
Slight left towards Sippenham Lane.
Yeah, exactly. So I think that's rather worrying.
Yes, of course. And are you going to join them so you can get a vote then, Anne?
I think it's a bit late.
if you
I must admit,
yeah.
I wouldn't be the only. I mean, let's face it, Britain first. And
Continue for 1.5 miles.
They've all got votes.
God, what a farce that is. Anne, thank you very much for raising that with us. Stay cool. Anne's calling from Montpellier in France, beautiful part of the world. Just shows LBC leading the conversation, not just in Britain, all around the world. We're going to check that out about Conservatives Abroad. In the meantime, we'll know what you think about this. It's we've got 6 more weeks of this competition. Shouldn't call it a competition. It's a contest, leadership contest. Have you seen the winner? Do you approve of the way it's being done? And do you agree like me? It's just too flipping long. 0345 6060 973. Time is now 6:47.
This is LBC.
Headphones left on the bus. Laptop keeps lagging. Smartphone not so smart. Let's get the kids sorted. For the flexible way to shop everything for their new school year, say hello to VeryPay. Choose pay now or over 3 months and pay no interest, or pay later. VeryPay. Nice and flexible for when life is anything but. Search VeryPay. VeryPay credit provided subject to status by Shop Direct Finance Company Limited. 18 plus representative 39.9% APR variable.
Fever Tree Mediterranean Tonic Water. Made with zesty lemon thyme from a small family farm in Provence and essential oils from herbs that grow in the Mediterranean sunshine. So, if 3/4 of your G&T is a Fever Tree tonic, maybe it's time to call it a T&G. Fever Tree. Mix with the best. Ooh, that takes me straight to the med.
Hey, Harry. Hello, mate. Should I back the underdog or risk a few extra quid on the favourite?
Listen,